Assalamu alaikum and peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome back to the STEM Files. We serve as the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. In tonight's episode, we're doing part 2 with our student chemist out of Chicago, Sister Asalah Muhammad. We're going to be talking about the student chemist versus academia. There's a lot to unpack here, and there's a reason why we're saying versus and not in. We're saying versus, all right? So stay tuned, family, for more after this.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science.
All right, and as our awesome intro always states, we teach men, women, and children heavy science. My name is Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I am a biomedical research scientist with a background and focus in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. I'm always joined by my more illustrious co-hosts, Jabril. We'll start with you, bro.
Yes, sir. Peace and love, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabrillion Engineer. I'm a civilian mechanical engineer with a focus on naval ship fluid systems and a background in material science and engineering, the study of the various materials classes and how they can be utilized for different applications. Always excited to be on the STEM files and more excited to hear from our illustrious guests. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. What's going on, Doc?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family. I'm Sister Dr. Joy 2X, the Chi mechanic. I've been studying and practicing traditional Chinese medicine for a little over 12 years now. And in TCM, we understand that the body innately knows and desires how to heal itself. So the medicine I offer is to assist you in that journey. So I am the mechanic for your vital energy. Peace.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it. As we always say, the show is not about us. It's never about us. And we want to make sure that we highlight our guests to the best of our ability. This episode is very special in particular because it's the second part to the conversation we had with Sister Asalah last week. And that conversation was packed in itself. But this one is really going to get deeper into our sister's journey as a researcher and some of the challenges that she's facing and some of the walls that she's breaking down in her field, especially as it relates to chemical research. So without any further ado, let's welcome Sister Asalah back to the platform.
I'm doing good.
Excellent. And thank you for coming back to the platform. So first and foremost, why part 2? Why did you think it was a good idea to come back?
So I think there were some topics that I felt like I really wanted to discuss and indulge in that I felt like could relate more to like my peers, especially my Black peers in chemistry and in STEM who may be facing similar problems. So yeah, I kind of wanted to speak on that and kind of reach that audience.
Mm-hmm. Praise be to Allah.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And so the title is the student chemist versus academia, right? So when we originally pitched that title to you to kind of talk more about some of the things that you're going through, what was some of the first things that stuck out when you first saw that title?
Well, I think when I saw the title, it was just, I mean, obviously it's like verses, but one of the things that stuck out to me was academia, because I think a lot of us go into academia, and what I realized when I conversate with like kind of a lot of my other peers is just how unprepared we are when we go into college. And so it really kind of is us against the system, the educational system that did not prepare us. So yeah.
Got you. Dr. Joy, you want to, whoever want to start it off.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, well, I had missed the first part of the last episode just due to my own profession. So I apologize for that. And it's so nice to actually be here with you this time. And so I wanted a little bit of background. How did you become a chemist? What drove you into chemistry, especially when there is little to no preparation for that kind of avenue?
So I know I said in the first interview that it was kind of like I was conversating with, I have two aunts. One of them I was conversating with, and I was, asking her for guidance on, what class I should take. I was like, I think intro to chemistry would be nice. She told me it wouldn't be a good idea because I would probably fail that class. And so I took it anyways just to kind of see. But I think another thing that I kind of forgot to mention in terms of like my inclination towards science was when I was like little, I was an MUI baby student.
Praise be to Allah. That's right.
Shout out to the nation.
It's like my whole upbringing, no. But so when I was like, a child in MUI, one of my favorite teachers was Sister Kasima. And she was right, yeah. I know. Exactly. I know everybody knows her. So she is she was our physical science teacher. And I was so fascinated by kind of like the projects that she gave us. They were so fun and intriguing because she allowed us to get creative, but also related to science. So we were doing research, but at the same time, it's like we were not like limiting our imagination. Like she wasn't discouraging imagination. She was just saying, you can use your imagination, but just back it up with like actual science, like things that are possible. Like, okay, you think that if we're talking about building a new astronaut suit, and you think that the the oxygen tank is inefficient, what would you use instead to kind of like hold the oxygen? And I don't know how old I was a child, but I was like kind of let my creative mind kind of run wild. But I was like, I looked up the what do you call that fish? It's the fish that blows up and spikes up, the blowfish.
Oh, the pufferfish.
Puffer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It probably has a better name, but I don't know.
No, it's fine. It's the pufferfish. So I looked that up, and I was like, how are they able to hold in air so well? And what if we were able to kind of use those properties to hold, oxygen gas? And so I wrote a whole research paper on that and made I designed a astronaut suit using the doll in my room and brought it to class. I was pretty disappointed. I got a B. I was like, well, I worked too hard to get a B, but it's fine. But yeah, that was it started there. And then I was like, maybe science is fun. And then, I just kind of, and then I went into college and I was like, this is not too fun, but it's fine. I'm still here. So, but that was kind of like the origin story. And then we get into college and we get into the whole discouraging part. And then something else had to motivate me to even explore it. So,
praise be to Allah. Yes,
I'm sorry, really quickly, Sister Dr. Joy. I had something, as you were talking, it took me back to having Sister Kasima as well in Philadelphia at Muhammad's Islamic Academy, which was our MUI affiliate for several years. I was there until I had transferred to being homeschooled. And as you were talking, it took me to our lesson given to us by Master Prophet Muhammad, where we're asked the question, what is the duty of the civilized person, the civilized man, what have you? And then furthermore, if said person does not, do their duty, what is to be done? But we learned that in part, we are to teach the science of life or everything in life. And as you were talking, it got me to thinking that, Islam dignifies and it comes after all things fail. Can you speak more to why it's so important to have Islam as a foundation when you're pursuing a STEM degree or you're trying to, develop your personal relationship with some facet or STEM as a whole?
Okay, so I'm gonna do one question at a time. was like, wait, which one should I? Okay. So the first question was, it was like, how does like the importance of Islam in STEM? Did I get it? Did I summarize it correctly? Or
Right, particularly when choosing to pursue why it's important to have Islam as a foundation. That's the first part. Yes, ma'am.
okay. So I think it's important for me, at least, to have it as a foundation because I feel like when you kind of go in without much of a foundation, when you are choosing a major, you're thinking about how can it benefit me? And so you can't really apply it to a wider net of people because you know, there's really no reason to have concern for people outside of yourself. And because I think this Western culture, Western society is very individualistic. And so it, you know, it kind of pushes being self-centered more than you would want it to. But because of that, it's like you can't apply what you're spending years practicing to like how you can benefit others outside of yourself or like serve a greater cause or just a greater purpose in general. And so I don't think a lot of people may have that if they don't have a foundation like this, like Islam. So
Thank you, Tula.
And how? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, I was just gonna say, like, I really love that, you know, you're speaking about applied science, right? And not only applied science, but also the application of Islam, not only as the root foundation, but in general to serve society as a whole. So, can you tell us a little bit about being a student chemist and your work in academia and what your applications, the implications of your applications will be? Like, what are you working on currently?
So I'm currently working on not the hostel, well, kind of like synthesizing maybe like medicinal kind of like drugs. They're not exactly drugs because they might not be good drugs because they've got a bunch of functions, but I'm just kind of learning the skill of like synthesizing and also just learning how to make kind of like toxic reagents into non-toxic reactions, volatile kind of molecules into non-volatile molecules. And so I think for me, I'm trying to, what was the other part of the question?
Just what are you working on and how do you see that benefiting the community, for instance?
I see. So in terms of like what I can directly do with my skills, like I could like focus on kind of like medicine that would be tailored towards the Black population because medicine for us and medicine for another race, it's completely different. You cannot apply what you would use for I don't know, the Indian or the white man or whatever and give it to us. We're not from the same environment, and so it's going to be different, and the effect might backfire. It'll probably backfire, but also I think another thing that I can see more clearly is there's not a lot of push for Blacks to be in STEM. In fact, if you even bring up kind of like oh, I'm in chemistry or I'm in, you know, physics or I'm in, you know, or I got my degree in kind of one of these hard sciences. When you talk to other Blacks that don't, you know, they don't really know what that is, they ask the question like, what are you going to do with that? They're asking it in a way where it's like, how is that useful? And so all of these other majors that are kind of in the social sciences are, because, you know, this is something that we've kind of like mastered or, you know, or we've, a lot of us, you know, we'll either go in kind of for money or because like, I don't know, but STEM is usually I hear more about money. But anyways, but STEM is like, it's not pushed. And it's like, it seems like an anomaly amongst our people. It's like, why would you do that? Was that useful? to us. And I'm like, dude, we have like no we have no physicists, we have no chemists. Like we have some, but they're a minority within a minority. And so it's to the point where it's like, well, maybe we don't need them. And it turns out we do. We just don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
In fact, if we do get into it, and I think I said in the last interview, there's already a place for us, which is to serve, you know, it's to serve the white race. it's to serve this country.
Don't
I was
sugarcoat
trying to
it.
find a more discreet way. I'm like, somebody help. I'm so
No,
sorry.
you on it.
Yeah.
If I may, sis, you're driving at a point that really needs to be expanded upon today. I think what you're really talking about, and if I could take my time for a moment, we as a people know what like Africana studies, public policy, communications, um, theological science looks like as far as striving to exact meaningful change. You think the civil rights movement, you think, organization around a march, try to get a law passed. We know what that looks like, at least from the struggle perspective.
Right.
When we talk about STEM in the context of people among our people, it's typically tied to money. No matter what you're doing of cutting edge, typically when you get to the base of what people do, a big motivation is because STEM degrees and or STEM disciplines and or jobs pay well.
Mm.
So you're able to now survive or thrive in an environment where inflation is at an all-time high, and you now need certain goods and services that cost more than they did before.
Mm.
But what does it look like to now engage a STEM discipline and exact meaningful change? Well, I would argue that it's more than getting a job at Exxon. It's more than getting a job at Microsoft, at Xbox,
Come on.
at
Come on.
Instagram, right? It's more than crawling up the ivory tower. And I think that we don't know / aren't motivated to become producers in these STEM disciplines and thereby create a new paradigm, not only of thought, but a paradigm of physical environment. So you really are hitting on a really, really important thing. And I think that gets into some of this student chemist versus academia conversation that we were going to get into. But thank you, sis.
Thank you for driving it home and summarizing it. And I don't know, for anyone who may watch or whatever, serving the elite, if that, cool. Just wanted to.
You were good. You was good the first time.
Yeah,
Okay.
you said it perfect the first
We
time.
know.
You're gonna leave it all in there too. No edit.
But audience, you don't know who's gonna just like, all right, let me tailor this a little bit so there we go. But yeah, no, definitely. Oh, sorry. Go, please, somebody. Because I'll ramble.
You're good. You're good. And that's why this show, this platform is so important, because the STEM files goes into the community and we extract those Black physicists that we may not know about, those Black chemical engineers like Sister Kasima, MGT chemical engineer, straight up, right?
Straight up.
We go into the community, we find the Black meteorologists, we find the Black geologists. We've had several of these individuals on the platform, right? So the student chemist versus academia, the STEM files kind of wields a weapon for you, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you can take the STEM files in the community, you can take the STEM files to whoever and show them that Black people can be successful in STEM, make money in STEM, and change the world, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So I wanted to get from you, we talked when we were talking on the phone, you said that you wanted to build on your time at the research symposium, right? And in that research symposium, you had the opportunity to present your research, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in your time and in your experience there, you noticed that you didn't see yourself.
Yes.
You didn't see yourself. Not only did you not see yourself, you were an anomaly.
Yes.
Amongst brilliant minds, right? What did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad do? He said he was going to take the bottom and make it the what?
Top.
Top. And you going into this symposium as a student chemist, someone in medicinal chemistry, a Muslim woman, an MGT, someone who represents Farrakhan, right? You're going in this symposium, and now you're taking on that responsibility. At the same time, you're educating your fellow peers, right?
Right.
Let's build on that experience. What was it about that experience that made you say, you know, we need our own research symposium? We need to bring our Black scientists and engineers together to do these things.
Okay. Well, so when I went there, I do remember this was actually the Noe Conference in New Orleans. Oh, the picture is it?
You're good.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, what's okay, cool. So basically I was there at the Noe Conference. And when I first went, I was coming in late. I had just gotten off my flight, and there was already like there were already kind of like people speaking. There was like a dinner. I think, no, it was a lunch, something like that. Anyways, I went to their kind of lunch, everyone, the gathering, if you may, right before presenting. And so I went there, and, you know, there were panelists coming up and just, you know, talking about the good of this organization. And, you know, I've never been. And so I'm just like, this is so cool. And so they're bringing up Black American kind of like Black American geniuses, kind of who were the first to do it, so that we all could kind of have this opportunity to be here and converse with one another and see ourselves in STEM. And so they talk about kind of like this Black man kind of being the first to do it, or at least the most noticeable to do it. I think he was from the South. But basically, as I was hearing this, you know, I'm thinking, of course, this is like, I understand that the entire diaspora is absolutely invited. But when I went to present and I saw so little of us, now, mind you, I think it was kind of frustrating because in my head, I'm like, okay, if we made this organization, and this is supposed to be a safe space for us, essentially. And what I saw were people who are from where I'm from being the minority within the minority. And it was so frustrating because I'm like, imagine creating a space that is supposed to be safe for people like you, and then that being taken over by a whole different set of people who not only don't share the same mindset, but they don't share the same struggles. They're not from where you're from. They don't speak the same language, you know, all of this. And so they cannot empathize with what you went through to get to where you are. And so it just, it was heartbreaking to see because I realized it was so little of us in there. I was like, wow. And so what I noticed amongst my people, inclusivity has been pushed down our throats. So much so that we will allow a whole nother different set of people to take over something that was meant for us to be safe, to be comfortable, to converse with one another, to network, to build something. But we have been scared out of doing for self because it's been demonized, right? Into something like, oh, you're not being inclusive and you're not including these other people. What does that make you?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, and so, you know, now it's a deceptive intelligence is what it is. And so they've used it, they have mastered it so well, that we feel that we're now forcing ourselves to open the doors to everybody, so much so that we forgot who the targeted audience was.
Yes.
And so now we're looking for our people in the organization that we built, and we're like, where are we at? Not seeing them. I'm seeing every other people who's like, oh yeah, my mom's a doctor, we've got mansions. We don't come from that.
Right.
We were shipped here We don't come from mansions.
Okay.
Okay?
Sister Asalah turned into student minister, Sister Asalah.
Right, that's right.
It was so angering. I almost lost my mind when I saw this. I didn't know who to go off on, but I was like, we're gonna keep composure and life is great. Life, we're gonna keep composure. No, but so I was kind of losing it because luckily my roommate is also Black American, and so we were talking about, we were like, man, like it's cool. We like, we see at this time we kind of don't. We're like, where we at? Where's the population that's from here? And we were both kind of like venting to each other, like, oh wow, we're not seeing that. Even though this place was founded by one of us, it is not. It's being dominated by a different set of people. And so now we're left to not really feel safe in our own space, which is insane. It's like building a house for yourself and letting somebody else live in it. And so that's how that felt. Yeah.
Right.
So so funny. They sent out a survey. I didn't do it. That would have been the opportunity, right?
That's your opportunity definitely to share. We got to take those surveys. I'm so glad that, again, we're having this conversation. I have this conversation with people a lot, whether it's, the team here, others. And we're the only people that find an issue with doing Black things.
Mm.
And it's funny. It shows how America is, or basically how competitive, or the focus of America being competitive, because the only thing we seem to have no issue with being exclusive in is when it comes to marriage. So, for example, if it's an honor society, best believe it's cool to exclude people based on grades. If it's a to Diddy like club or whatever, it's cool to it be exclusive when it comes to money. But everyone seems to feel like they have a right to every person's issues and or energy, and it's not enough to be like, well, this is a Black thing. But everybody else, no one else thinks like that. Right. So, and what happens is you don't get anything for yourself when all of your problems are shared by somebody else. So we talk about the Civil Rights Act.
Right.
People like say, "Oh, y'all got that?" No, we didn't. Every minority got the Civil Rights Act, right?
Right.
So it was inclusive. So what we have to understand is there is power in minding your business.
Your Black-owned business.
Right, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you can't, embrace or engage or what's the word I'm looking for? Just purchase a product or service from someone else's, but build your own up first and be proud of it. Right? That's how you get things done.
Right.
That's how you get things done. And we're going to continue to be in the state we are until we do that. But yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
See, with what you said, something that was really key. You said be proud of it. A lot of people come here with pride, and they have a right to that pride. And we have pride that is demonized and seen as arrogance. And why do Blacks always have to have their hands on things and be like, oh, it's mine? Because it is mine. Because it is.
Right.
I made it, and you are benefiting from it. See, if I wear your clothes, right? I get on this internet and I don't wear it properly, you are going to drag me in your native language for days. Okay,
Come
with
on.
your peers. And so I'm just kind of like, inclusivity, there's nothing wrong with the nature of it, the function of it, but when you're so inclusive that you've allowed people to now disrespect what they are benefiting from, we're not, this is not inclusivity. We have become doormats. It is socially acceptable to be a doormat as a Black person in America, born and raised, whatever. Because we're we're already trying to keep you all in the box of like rejected, and we want you all to accept that you are rejected and you are unworthy, and that is your place. And what's happening is that Black Americans are like, why do I have to be ashamed of where I come from, what happened to me, and what all I had to go through to get here? And so there is a fight and there is tension. So
Yes, ma'am.
It was so packed.
Doing
It's
that.
hilarious.
That's right.
I'm like, I have so much to say, but it's like, it's saying it in a certain way. But when it's matters like this, it's very hard to cushion it. It's like, no, this is hard.
Why cushion it, sis? Why
Yeah.
cushion it? We don't need to be cushioning nothing for these people, nothing at all. And what you and Brother Jabril have brought up is, that we're talking about equality versus equity versus representation. And I have a personal issue with all of these institutions kind of hovering over DEI, like diversity, equity, and inclusion kind of councils or whatever. I mean, that's what you were speaking on, Sister Asalah, like inclusivity has been a pushed agenda. And we as a nation, what are we really talking about? What are we equaling ourselves to? To what? To what and for why? Tell me the why. And
Exactly.
that is exactly, part of our nation that's ingrained in us is separation or death. Because where else are we going to go, and what else can we do? And for my question for you is, what would you like to see as a student chemist in academia right now? What would you like to see or implement or leave your stamp on, or even separate from, like forget the stamp, just what do you want to create with the chemistry that you're doing?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Something that I would like to see is, God, it's so funny you asked this question because I was thinking about this earlier today. It's like this morning, I think. But when the minister said in the criteria, and he was talking about the students of chemistry and the students of biology, what I want to see more of is us not kind of limiting ourselves to certain majors, to certain degrees, and limiting our perspective as to why we are choosing these degrees in higher education and whatnot. And so if anything, I wanna see more of us confident in STEM, like so confident that we feel like we can dominate the very thing that other people don't mind dominating, and letting us know, like, being very open about how did you get here, who let you in. And so I want to see us dominate more. I want to see more of us, and I want to see us kind of build more with each other, with STEM and with chemistry. So that's kind of the goal, is to not just have like one person who's like in STEM and maybe has a business or is an entrepreneur. We need a community. Yeah, we need exactly of businesses and STEMs and teachers and professors. We need a whole like array. It's no longer like, oh, it's just me who's no. Our ancestors did that. They had to be it's just me, and it was lonely. I'm trying not to go. It was lonely. It was lonely as heck.
Yes, ma'am.
Throughout that entire process, and we don't have to be lonely in this process. But I think the problem is when it comes to collaboration, we care so little about community because Western culture pushes ego. We're so wrapped up in our ego.
God Almighty.
Yeah. That it's like, we think that something's being taken away from us because it's like we're working together. We need each other. And that's not how we're thinking of it. We're not thinking of I need you, you need me. We're thinking of like, you're going to take something from me. And so it's this culture of just not being able to trust one another has been cultivated.
Absolutely.
And I really want that to break.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Dr. Student Minister Asalah Muhammad of the STEM UI.
Yes. May I dovetail off of that last point, Sister Asalah? I just wanted to add, then this is something I've kind of been thinking about for a while. I think our people have become so accustomed to the struggle that success starts to feel like a trick.
Mm.
Come on.
So
That's
so
sabotage. Oh my God.
we
Speak on that.
when you struggling, like I'm in the struggle, I'm in the grind, I'm in the trenches, right? But then somebody looks as if they've gotten out the trenches or have built the business or maybe an institution or their family is doing well. They are either lying to you, it's not real, they're an op, they're an agent. It's
Right.
like why ain't they dead yet? Like we never think, we really don't think that we can overcome the current paradigm of white supremacy as far as that mindset. We think that true revolution is in the struggle, not as a means to an end, but
Come on.
that's the goal. Struggle is the goal, right?
Dang.
So
Oh my God.
so like when you talk about poor righteous teacher, okay.
Why
You
I gotta be
know,
poor? Why I gotta be poor though?
but the thing
Right.
is, poor is less, is not it, that phrase is not monetary.
Right. No, I know.
It's in walking humbly, how you walk the earth, right?
That's right.
Because who gave you those lessons?
Come on.
Now, whether you want to say it was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Master Fard Muhammad, last time I checked, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's empire was valued at $80 million
Facts.
back then, or I should say the Nation of Islam and the businesses that were put together were valued at $80 million. Master Fard Muhammad took off his holy robes and left paradise
That's right.
to come save us. Now, we live in a very real world. I think we know what paradise means.
Right.
All right. So when we talk about the liberation struggle, we really have to become very understanding that you can win. We can win. We can get a dub. So thank you so much, sis, for bringing that up, because it's not just like, oh, I'm here, I'm the only one. We can work together and we can win.
Absolutely.
See,
Absolutely.
right.
Right.
Good God. He just
All right.
brought that thing all the way home. I just, we don't know, because we're stuck on struggle. We're just like struggle and that's it. It's like, no,
Right,
there's another level. You don't have to keep struggling. Struggling comes to an end. At this point, you're suffering. It's willing. You're doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
So I love this.
Praise be to Allah.
Well, family, at this time, we're going to go ahead and segue into a tool that is used to help us separate from our open enemy, and that is the Final Call newspaper. Let's check it out.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call digital edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Peace. This is Noe Muhammad, a future architect, and you're watching The STEM Files.
All right, excellent. Welcome back to the STEM Files. And Jabril, can you kindly go into what this week's issue is all about?
Yes, sir. So, family, this is the latest issue, volume 43, number 10 of the Final Call newspaper, a message dedicated to the resurrection of the Black men and women in America and the world. This is what we like to affectionately call the number one minister in our Nation of Islam, beside the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. This current edition is Solidarity and Survival. Solidarity and Survival. The Final Call examines the historical parallels and intertwined struggles of Blacks in America with the Palestinian people for freedom, justice, and equality. We know those three things mean Islam. Family, we know that the two peoples, Palestinians or blacks in America, have endured similar treatment from their oppressors, whether it be whites here in the United States or the Zionist regime, we're going to call it what it is, over in the now called Israel and unfairly occupied Israel. And this paper is going to talk to you about some of those historical parallels and maybe a bit of how you can educate yourself and what you can do to help. I know a lot of people today are taking their time to boycott certain brands that may be, favor of one side versus the other. One of the things that are very important today, family, is more than ever, we want to be educated. We want to, formulate our own thoughts as it pertains to whatever war you're following around the world, and be very not only internationally studied, but locally as well. What's going on where you live? How can you do something about your neighborhood? Because if we only look without, we'll have a hard time solving what's within. So again, solidarity and survival. Get your latest edition of the Final Call newspaper today. If you are one who likes to read on your phone, tablet, or laptop, go to finalcalldigital.com, subscribe today. Also in the Richmond, Virginia area, or now the Atlanta, Georgia area, you want to get your physical edition of the Final Call newspaper, tap in with your brother, your brilliant engineer, and Steve Cardiac. Final Call newspaper family, some news you can use.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know she had to head on out due to a prior engagement, but Sister Dr. Joy as well has the Final Call newspaper available in the city of Greensboro, North Carolina. So if you're in that area, definitely tap in with your sis. Going back to the topic about civil rights, right? And Jabril brought up a good topic. And I was just talking about this with my mother a couple hours ago, really. And we were talking about, there was a lecture that was playing on in the background about, Minister Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan was saying something about, and I'm paraphrasing, he was saying something about, what civil rights what actually was and what that movement was and who it was operated by, right? We know that the NAACP was not started by Black people and is not currently operated by Black people, right?
Right.
And in his last couple of years, Martin Luther King is quoted by saying that I'm afraid that I've integrated my people into a burning house, right?
That's right.
So as a student chemist, as somebody who is in this particular field and is literally in the middle of white supremacy in a sense, right?
Yes.
How can you see yourself, or what are some of the steps that you think students like you or students who are passionate about building for themselves, what are some of the steps they can take to begin that separation process?
I think students like myself, some of the steps that we can take is simply reaching to people that have similar experiences and that are in kind of what we're in, STEM research. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I've reached to a lot of my peers that are in research, that are Black women, that have experienced that level of discrimination. And so I'm just kind of like, we should be open with each other. We should kind of almost like create a home, in which we can be comfortable in this very majority kind of white dominated, majority. And I think we should be very, there's so many things that I kind of want to touch on that I feel like I said before. Sorry? You said remind you? I got you. So I'm trying to, so something that I said earlier, and I don't even think I mentioned it, but I think about my people who are not really encouraged to be in STEM, and people who come here who are, and kind of like the separation between the two, not because of that difference, but because of an array of other differences that the majority who is kind of watching us and everything we do. What white supremacy has done is laid out kind of like a bunch of lies for both groups to consume about the other. And so this, creates kind of like a split between the two, and a lack of respect for, like some in more ways than one. But I think coming together in STEM, not necessarily like, this is what makes us different, but whatever makes us different, we should absolutely respect it. But we should recognize that us against us, we've been doing it for a pretty long time, and it is no longer working. It's ineffective at this point. So I think we should continue to connect with one another, and continue to push our faces in STEM. So
You talked about connection and pushing. One of the major hurdles, if you will, for us is when we in STEM, we go through schooling, whether private, parochial, public, charter, what have you, home, primary school, secondary school, right? Go through middle, high school, you go to college, you might go to graduate school or what have you. Once you come out, you typically will pick, creating your own business, you might go and find a job, you may go into academia. At that point, it becomes difficult if you're not careful to keep in the forefront of your mind that as a Black person, I should be more concerned with creating something for self that can then serve to be a launch pad and a resource for other people.
yes.
What do you think are some basic things that we can do to help segue away from, oh, I'm just getting in STEM so I can go do research at a top university or get a job at a top STEM company. How can we continue to remember and then work to acquire the skills and resources necessary to then create an environment, create an incubator, create a system for ourselves?
Well, one way in which we can do that, I'm sure it's one of many, but one way that I'm thinking is if we collaborate and continue to collaborate, and we collaborate on a mission that serves our people. So something bigger than us, in which we can kind of come together and work together on. I think this would kind of separate us from the individualistic mind of like, how can this benefit me? It's about me. And it's like, it's about you until it's not, until the thing that you applied for, until the company that you're working for, until the school that you were like, until they reject you, or until it shuts down, or until, this whole economy kind of crashes. And then what?
Right.
What now? Right?
Right.
Now you're screwed. Right? And so I think collaborating with one another, and starting companies, starting businesses, starting the more kind of partnerships you have, I would think the bigger the company. And so I think more of that, not just us launching our own thing, but us collaborating with one another and building from there. That would I mean, I don't even think the mission itself has to be sometimes like, holy and, whatever. It's just the fact that us coming together is like a wow factor. It's something that is not often seen. What we see is just a couple of Black people that are like super successful, but we're not really connecting with one another or trying to help each other. It's like, nah, you got yourself. It's all, it's not one for all. It's one for you.
That's right.
This is kind of what's been pushed. And so I think one way you can break that cycle is by pushing collaboration amongst people that are like you, so.
And imagine a company, a chemical company as big as DuPont or Monsanto. Imagine companies like that, not necessarily doing what they're doing, but imagine the companies that are conglomerates like that, but Black owned. Like that,
Yeah.
that would be a force. A black-owned chemical company like that, that's big like that, would be a force in the black community with everything that's produced for us, whether it's paint, glue, all the, the things that we don't eat, of course.
Right.
Right.
Just imagine those things, those needs supplied for our people from a black-owned conglomerate
Right.
chemical company. That would be incredible. But let me ask you this, with all of with the chemical synthesis that you're working on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the different projects that you have going on right now, and you may not know the answer to this at this stage in your research, but how do you see what you're doing right now with the chemicals that you're working with? How do you see that helping to transform black people or black life?
I see. Well, I think I had spoke on it in the last interview with like kind of how I wanted to more so help facilitate drugs that don't do all the work for you, because I think that is what causes the side effects, is that these drugs aren't working with the body. They're not, it's almost like they're not collaborating with the body. They're just doing kind of what they want to do. And so I think making drugs that are more kind of from like, I don't want to say, well, kind of like synthesized from plants, synthesized from more kind of natural things that our bodies don't mind taking anyways. So doing more of that, and just making it, because the whole drug factory has been used against Blacks. It's been used to kill us at a very rapid kind of rate. And I want to investigate why that is, and if there is an alternative, because not everybody can take medicine through like needles. Not everybody can take, people take it differently. And so I want to investigate if there is a better way to make and take these drugs so that it's not doing all the work for us. It's just working with what's already kind of in the body and what it's naturally inclined to do. So that is one of many goals.
I like that, because it's like you're taking the efficiency of a pharmaceutical in terms of how it just the speed in which it functions, right?
Right.
But you're using that without the poor effects of actually harming the body, right? So
Correct.
you're marrying two characteristics of a medicine, whereas whereas a pharmaceutical is focused on just the problem instead of the whole body, whereas you kind of see what I'm saying? Like you're marrying, almost like it's functioning like a nutraceutical, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It has the same potency or the same drive that a traditional pharmaceutical has, but without the poor effects.
Right. And then we have to understand, I think too, we got to remember that pharmaceuticals are driven by money. So the
Exactly.
biggest thing is, okay, I need this medication to remove the symptom from you so you can what? Party, go back to work, take care of your children, do whatever it is you need to do.
Do it again.
Versus heal you either indefinitely or for a protected amount of time, right? And as long as it works well, and gets you through at least several hours to a day, you'll buy it again and again and again and again. Now, if you talk about, like you said, the speed of the reaction, but with an actual natural either ingredients and or more natural product.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, okay, well, how can we get apple cider vinegar, certain herbs, whatever, to work, with the potency and quickness of a over-the-counter drug? Is there a way we can introduce a catalyst that is of a natural type of level that can rid the symptom, but in a more permanent way, quicker? That's very interesting research that I think people would be very interested in. Yes, ma'am.
And so I think even like with my project of creating a cyano group from an electrochemical source, cyanide is toxic, but I made it from an electrochemical source, which makes it non-toxic. And, you know, when you think about this connected to drugs, it can be introduced to the body. The body will not reject it. And so I think that skill is also kind of worthy of the goal that I had in mind. And I think even in like in line, we're on its way to it. So is making kind of like molecules that were once toxic, but now non-toxic.
Right.
So
Okay. Bad. Well, this has been another great build. I think personally, I think this build was better than the last. That's how it's supposed to be, right? The part two is always supposed to be better than part one.
yes.
And we thank you for coming back on the STEM Files. You know, we appreciate your time. This has been, and I'm sure Dr. Joy can attest to this as well. This, I'm sure, will allow people to first and foremost. This episode is definitely going to inspire somebody to go into STEM, for sure. And it's also going to open the eyes of somebody that don't want nothing to do with STEM. But now it's opening their eyes to see, okay, how this is beneficial to me, even though I myself don't want to be involved. You know, I like being in law. I like being in business. I like being, you know, an art teacher or what have you. But now they can see how what you're doing in chemistry can benefit all of those things, right?
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us again. At this time, we're going to go ahead and do some plugs real quick. We got the Black Business Highlight. So I don't know if y'all remember, for those who are watching, we interviewed two dynamic sisters who have developed their very own Black-owned social media platform. Sister Stephanie and Sister Asalah Muhammad are the founders and developers of Our Own, a Black-owned, a new take on social media. And they finally, after weeks of asking them, and I'm sure they were already developing this, but now they finally have their own apparel line. They got beanies, they got long sleeve shirts, short sleeves, hoodies, hats, you name it. I'm about to cop every last one of those things. So I am, matter of fact, shoot, I might just rock one of those on the next episode of the STEM Files. Like, straight up. And look at that. They even got the black emoji sweater. Yo.
Yeah, that's hard.
This is fun.
That's hard.
I'm saying, right? So, family, the link is definitely in the description if you're watching on YouTube. The link is also in the caption if you're watching on Facebook. Please support Black-owned. Go ahead and sign up for your own personal page on Our Own social media platform. And then also get your apparel to go along with it, family. Jabril, you got some thoughts on that?
I just know I'm like that. I got plans for that beige emoji crew neck
I'm saying,
down
right?
in the lower left right there. That's screaming. The fit is coming to me. It's coming to me. Absolutely,
So many ideas.
absolutely.
I'm saying, man. So yeah, family, please support a Black-owned business. They have apparel, but their apparel is not the mission of Our Own. The mission of Our Own is to provide a Black-owned social media platform that we can use to not only develop our own personal businesses, but also to, you know, show the righteousness that can be found on social media. Because right now, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff is clouded and drenched with unrighteousness. So now we have the opportunity to get on a platform that's operated and functions off of righteousness. So tap in, family. But this has been another edition of the STEM Files, where we serve as the voice of STEM talent and Black culture. Tariq Cardiac Jabrain Engineer, the Chi Mechanic, Sister Student Minister, Asalah Muhammad. I'm gonna keep saying that.
We gotta put that in the atmosphere.
But thank you all for tuning in. Jabril, any last words?
No, family, we do this for you all. We do this for ourselves too. We legitimately enjoy having these riveting conversations with, our illustrious guests. But, without you, it's not worthwhile. If we're not impacting, educating, uplifting, you know, allowing you to learn something more about yourself, something more about someone else, and be inspired to accept your own and be yourself, then we wouldn't be doing a good job. This is more than a show. This is really a platform that hopes or inshallah helps us get beyond simply struggling. You always got to start with struggle, but inshallah we will win and be found, you know, doing it ethically. So Inshallah, you've enjoyed. You continue to stay tapped in with us. Make sure to follow us on social media. Make sure to go to our YouTube and hit that notification button to stay tapped in on all new content. We love y'all. We appreciate your support. And again, we're at Tariq Cardiac, at Jabril_engineer, and at the Chi Mechanic on Instagram, and at the Sim Files, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, family, we love you. Thank y'all so much.
Peace.
You believe in these false prophets, I say I bet he lying. No football, New York City Giants. Girl dad, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. When we teaching our babies, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science. When we teaching our women, we teach them heavy science. Heavy science. Heavy science.